Okay, and you're going to use the same method as the pouch. You're going to think about a sleeping bag, so you want them to be able to move a bit, but you don't want the whole bag hopping down the street. Okay, so think about your sleeping bag. So for a little paddy melon, you're probably going to be tying it up right down here, somewhere really. A really big wallaby, you might be tying it up here, and the tail will be sticking out of the bag. You just tie around the tail. Okay, that's absolutely fine for them. Now, a couple of options for tying things up. Just chucking that white thing just there. Thank you very much. These are really good. They sell them at Bunnings and a few hardware stores and things, but this is called a cable clamp. Okay, it's just used to basically hold bunches of cables, but they're like a zip tie. When they go in, they can't come undone again. So those are really fantastic if you're not great with tying things up. But look, I mainly use baling twine, to be honest. There's just so much of it around and it just gets wasted. I don't do any fancy knots or anything else. I can't do them. I'm a granny knot specialist. But I will always tie the bag up twice. Okay, just to make 100% sure, tie the bag up twice would be the key. Okay, so for a wallaby or paddy melon, again, I won't complicate it any more than that. Okay, just that's your method to use. And again, starting with one that's completely incapacitated. Look, unfortunately, one that's unable to stand isn't as likely to obviously survive as one that's moving, but just to get that feel for it the first couple of times, it's just what I highly recommend. Now, in the message, we will generally say it's a small wallaby or paddy melon, in case we don't know which until we get there a lot of the time. Okay, a medium-sized wallaby or a large/fully grown wallaby. Okay, so we're trying to give you an indication of the size, and obviously a fully grown wallaby is not for everyone in this room to deal with because it will be a lot heavier. It's not how much you can lift with two hands, it's how much you can lift with one hand because your other hand has got the bag. So you need to be aware of that. Now, what I'm going to also really strongly suggest, so you can get an idea of what you're capable of lifting, okay, stop at some roadkills. It is your best way just to get a feel for it in the hand as well. You can remove it from the road. You can practice checking a pouch if it's a female. So start with a small one, just see how that feels. Then when you see a medium-sized one, give that a go. And of course, if you're comfortable with a medium-sized one and it's fairly light, then go for your big one and see. Look, you can do it on the actual rescues as well, but we just don't want a situation where we're using animals as testers, so to speak. If we can do it with roadkill, it's a hell of a lot easier to do. The weight of a fully grown wallaby, they're not as heavy as you think they're going to be because they're quite a lean animal. They're not like a wombat that's just like picking up a rock, they're just a dead weight. Whereas the wallabies, they are a bit lighter. Look, I liken lifting them to lifting like one of those big feed bags that you get for animals. It sort of feels a bit like that in terms of weight. So they're not too bad to do. Now, you can use two people, but it is really important that you communicate very well. Okay, obviously there's going to be a dangerous bit. The person that's holding it will sort of have a feel for what's going on, so you don't then want to sort of, wind up getting your friend kicked in the face. Well, unless they're a Collingwood supporter, then you can just chuck it right in front of you. So the general rule when we're dealing with wildlife, this works most of the time, is that we don't do opposite each other, because generally that's where the dangerous bit will be. So most of the time working with two people, you'll be side by side, okay? Which is also the Collingwood slogan, isn't it? Side by side. Is that right? Side by side? Pathetic slogan. I feel sick. So side by side will be the key. So obviously if you've got two people, one can hold the bag and then the other can use two hands to lift the wallaby. So that might make you feel a little more in control. Okay, but again, lots of communication. So when you've got the wallaby or paddy into the bag, then who's got what? Who are you holding the bag? If you're